The Harley will hum again, a roar from yesterday. A bike will be rebuilt with love in metal and in sway. And as we chase the next surprise beneath the frame, we know the road ahead will always sing her name.
Hello, my name's Ralph and welcome back to the channel. It's my time, let's go. Today we're working away on Josephine and there's a bunch of things that we have to get at and do, and as you've seen from the video last week, the main bearing was in bad shape in the transmission. I didn't expect that, but I was glad that I took things apart to have a look. So today I'm going to try to get that out. Hopefully, you know, we can pull it out or beat it out or somehow get it out, because it's hard to pull it when the whole main center section is wonky in there, and usually you put something through and pull the puller out, but I'm hoping that that will work today. So stick with us, we're going to do that, and I'm also going to work on the rear brakes today and get those together and get those on the bike. That's the plan for today, and if everything goes smooth, I'll get those things done. So that's where we're at today, so let's get at it. So you never know what you're into till you get into it. So we've got to start disassembling it. We're going to take this arm off of here so we can get the lid off. Always unforeseen pleasures. That's the problem with the old machines. Some stuff gets left. I expect that's why that primary case was left on there. Somebody didn't know how to take it off and didn't want to take it off. That's not wanting to pry off, and I'm not going to pry it off at this time. I'm going to take the cover off instead, because there's a small C-clip on the bottom of this, and if you just try to pry up on it, the thing is you'll probably bust that C-clip off of there. We'll start by getting the cover off. Exhaust bracket mount off. Looks like we're in for a 5-speed rebuild again. So I'm just digging out one of my plates here that I have for twin cams. Keeps all your nuts and bolts and screws in place, but I'll be able to take care of my small ones here instead of throwing them in a pile. Oh, inner part of the pushrod. Yeah. You have to get the shift assembly out first before we can pull the transmission. Along with the shift shaft there, we got to take that off. Shaft off there right now while everything's tight.
Turn the ranch, feel the roar. It's a midnight ride. Josephine's a whispered guise, each bow we tight and wide.
Just gonna push the shift shaft backwards there.
The rhythm sweet and clean. Rocker arms dance, the engine hums.
Pick that arm up and lift that whole assembly right out. Shift shaft out. Pay attention when you take them out. I always like just hold the shift shaft like that. That one's the end one. This is the center one. And they all look to be in good shape. Good news. Good news, good news. We'll take our rubber hammer and just give the shaft a little tap. Pull that. To get my tool to pull that out. We'll have to do some measuring on that. But all in all, that shaft looks good. We're not going to get that out, that fifth gear, without pulling it. Yeah, those are bad. To replace those. Replace those. Getting that out is going to be a trick. I think the whole thing will come apart. So we've had to take the time now. I've got the big C-clip that was in there. It was in there and I got it out after some trials and tribulations. I had to go in and clean out between the two halves to get all the pieces of metal that are down in there. Now I see there's a slight burr there from the metals. I want to try and just smooth that out. The inside, any ridges that are there. And we don't want to come out this way with it because that's where our seal sits. But right along the edge, there's a burr. Slowly work it with these diamond files. There's another one just up there a little ways. Get my specs on so I can have a good look at her. You just don't want it grabbing on that and dragging it through the seal surface. And we may have to pull that out, but I'm going to take it looks like the main is okay. The main part, which is my worry. And I can't bring it out there, and I'm going to try and give it a little tap just to see if it's going to move. I'm not going to hammer on it. I mean, on the bright side, it's in there, and which means that the race hasn't spun. The bearing gave it up. But in order to pull this out, I got to get my box of goodies. And again, it's not the way it's supposed to be, and I'm afraid that it'll pull the center of it out without pulling the race out. But I'll have to take a minute and go get my stuff and see what we can gear up. So I've got my box full of goodies here, and this one should be able to go on the outside of it. I need something. So I'll try and pull that center out. Okay, let me form a plan and then I'll come back. So we've sort of got it geared up in here. I've got my puller here, which is usually pulling on the center of the bearing. But the center of the bearing, as we've seen, is not very good. So I'm going to give it a go here and see if I can get it to come out. Either that'll happen or the bearing will explode. It is moving it. I think we might get lucky. Got her out. Just enough to hold it so I could pull it out. Amazingly enough. But it's a good sign because it means it was in there tight. So it hasn't spun the outer side of the bearing. What it's done is the middle of it has let go for some reason. The needle bearing's in the middle of it. So I'm relieved about that, and that it hasn't spun in the case. So the case is good to go. A box of goodies and some old wheel spacers and stuff cut down to fit on it to pull stuff out. Not fancy, but it works. So that's good news today. That's good news. I'm pleased with that. So that's out. We'll take the tranny part, rebuild the tranny, put some new bearings and stuff in it, set it all up the way it should be, get a new main bearing for it, new seal, everything, put the transmission back together, be another thing out of the way. It's never dull. It's never dull. So today we're working on the back brake and I'm trying to get that hooked up, and one of the first things that we're having a problem with is that on the end of this big shaft, there's supposed to be a wave washer on there, and I don't have such a thing. I can't order such a thing, but what I have found is these, and these were a little wave washer that was made to go on the rocker arm shims. They were something that was made to keep the rocker arms tight from rattling back and forth, and although I never had much success with them, I found that they broke and stuff. They're about the closest thing I can find to a wave washer. Now the inside diameter of them won't allow me to put them on here. They won't fit. But I've taken one and revamped it with a grinding stone in there and just keep working it around and working it around. And then finally, I've got something that will slip on there and will work as our wave washer. I'm hoping. It's about all we can do to work with it. And I've just put a small grinding stone, some of the grinding stones that I've got on here, and I've just been working it around. Working it around in a circular motion. And we'll just keep measuring it as we go so we don't get too big. Now these are hardened steel, so it's the only way that you can get them out to size is to grind them. There we go. And that's got them in there. So that'll be our wave washers for those. Just took a little bit of time, a little bit of head scratching to figure out what to do about it, but I think that's going to work for our application there, especially when there's nothing else available, so you've got to try and come up with whatever you can to make it work. So we've just got to clean a little bit of paint out of our mounting holes so that our pins go in there smoothly. They don't want to slide in there right now because there's a little bit of paint on them. Alright, so let's get them cleaned out. Now the next step will be to get our pistons and our boots in there as they should be. So we'll get geared up, cleaned up for that. So we'll get some .5 out here. These kits ready to put in. We get our square ring in there. Put lots of .5 on that, as well as the inside of this. Now they tell you to put the piston in and then put the rubber boot on. I can't see how that would ever work. All right, let's see if we can get her started in here. Up all the way around. Just going to try and get down in there.
Rev the engine, hear that chrome roar.
Oh, this is pretty tight.
Safety's
Pretty tight.
We're checking what's going. Old Harley's heart beats under leather.
There we go. That's one into her.
Give those brakes a brand new spin.
lip up and kind of pull it over to one side. Go, we're up all around. And we'll try to work it down into the cylinder.
Remember, brakes are the lifeline. One slip, one skid, no compromise.
So that's got our pistons in there now. They're both down there where they should be. And in order to reassemble it all, we've got to get the brake bracket off of the bike, because it has to be all assembled as a unit with the brake bracket. Then the brake bracket has to be slid on the bike, so it's a bit of a trick. So we'll just have to quit here until I get the brake bracket off, and then we'll move on. So the first thing we'll do is get some of our never sees out. It's way down to the bottom here. Do the bores of where the pins go.
The thrum of the engine, echo the beat. A classic Harley.
And the pins.
Flawless. Complete.
Coat them all with never sees. Okay. So I guess we'll start with these on the outside. And we have to get an O-ring on there. There'll be an O-ring on both sides of the brake bracket, supposedly. Okay, pay attention to our direction. Let's go this way. Those will slide in there. All right, now we need to retract these a little bit. And another O-ring over those. Okay, we need our inside pad. Here. There. We have to get our springs in. These, roughly. Once our springs are in there, we need to put our other pads in, facing inward, of course. We need to pull the springs in so they sit between the pads. And we also need our backing pad in behind this, so not to forget that. Try to shove our bolts through. $12 to £15, they say. Alrighty, let's see if I can get my torque wrench and set it. Get her set there for 14 pounds. See if I can get a hold of it here to torque it. Take that one more time. That should be it. And last but not least, we'll put a little bit of never seize on our bleeder screw. A little bit of thread sealer on our other piece for our brake line. There we go. All right. Now we've got all that done. Next thing to do is take it out, see if we can slip it on the bike. All right, now we're gonna see if we can slide it in there without too much trouble, I hope. I don't know. There's always something. Just got enough room, I think. Get it in there. She's pretty snug. She was snug coming out. It doesn't surprise me that it's snug going in. All right, go around the other side and drive her through. Here we go. Through the adjuster there now. I'm just going to stick the nut on it. Clean this one up a little bit, this bracket. Slide the brace up in, and we won't tighten this up until we have the chain on and the wheel adjusted. Locked into place, and then we'll lock that bracket up. We'll put our nuts on her. And we should have a support bracket for that to lock that down in there, which I had to take stuff off to get it off. That's how it should go in there. A little 23-inch line is just nice there. It doesn't hit on anything, doesn't bind on anything. And there we go. All right, another step. Not the easiest thing to deal with, but looks good. So that's another piece of her done. Say once we've got all our adjustments done, then we'll cinch this down tight once everything's in place where it's supposed to be. All right, brakes. So today's one of those days when I'm kind of stuck in between. I blew into the transmission problems on Josephine. I've got some other paint drying. I've got a few things, you know, kind of sitting. So today I'm going to take the opportunity to do something different. And as you may have seen a while ago, I had Chuck Martin drop in, and he did a lot of polishing on Frank's bike, Trigger. And he does a phenomenal job. So me and Chuck got talking, and make a long story short, I need my wheels dressed up on Rosie here. A project which is dear to my heart, and I've let sit for way too long. I did a lot of work to it back in the late 90s, actually 98 I think I built this, and never did get it out. You know, business and life got in the way and things didn't get done. So it's a project that I'm hoping to get at, and today is going to be one of the first steps. It always takes that first step to try and get yourself going. 3 years go by and time flies, and projects get neglected. We're so caught up with business and doing what we have to do and get those kind of things done that quite often your own stuff gets on the back burner, which is typical for most mechanics. And I've tried to stay at some projects, and I try to keep up with them. I try to generate enough interest in myself to stay at them, but again, it seems like you get so many things on your mind in so little time. Rosie here was my pride and joy. Rosie was my first bike my first Harley back in 1974, and drove her hard right up until about 2000. You know, did a lot of things with it, drag race it, just drove it everywhere. We lived on it, me and Pauline. And then we put her in this new body. I was always a proponent of Arlen Ness. I loved Arlen Ness's stuff, and I just, you know, I can't say enough about the products and where it's the innovation that he had has brought us to where we are in the industry. So, first thing I was determined to do was stretch my tanks and put a set of Ness tail dragger fenders, and these are heavy duty fiberglass fenders. These are not the cheap aftermarket reproductions of them. They're thick, they're heavy, and they're meant for this bike. So, and I hand fabricated most everything else for it. But today, I'm gonna take the wheels off it, get them out to Chuck. He's gonna polish them up for me. That's gonna burn a fire underneath me. And who knows, coming within this next year time period somewhere, I'm gonna start picking away at the little things that this has gotta be done when I get a chance in between. I don't think that I'll get it done this year. I'd like to think I would, but I have to be realistic about it, and I plan to get it and drive as much as I can this year, so. But we'll see, and you have to start somewhere. Everybody has to start somewhere. So, let's get the wheels off this puppy, let's get them ready for Chuck, and we'll take it from there. I should be able to slide this off without too much problems, I'm hoping. I recall. And this here is made to pivot freely on there, so it's kind of a weird setup. Something that I seen done in the early years. 1, 2, 3. Probably gonna need something in there to hold that, to keep that up, or else the whole fender will want to come down. So I think I'll just put a couple tie wraps in there just to keep that fender up in place, and I don't want it banging around. Okay, now I should be able to drop that wheel out. Now, see what I gotta do to get the back one off. Before I drop it off, what I'm going to want to do is take some measurements to see if I can adapt one of my newer brakes systems onto this. So I think I'll take a moment and get some measurements. Under 9 inches, 8.5. So measuring those ones out, it looks like it might be all right. So I may upgrade that and put the 2008 brakes on it. You know, it's a custom, so there's lots done to it, different sort of things. But I want it to be able to stop good. That's for sure. We'll put like something different on there, like a GMA, or you know, even another one with a 1/2 inch bore at least. Or I may even make something up to use the original Harley one. We'll have to see what we'll do there. For now, we'll just get the wheel off and get along with that. Get along with getting on. Don't think she's going to come out of there easily. Nope, ain't going to do that. So, new plan. I'll have to wait for Pauline to come home from walking the dog to kind of balance the front end a little bit. I'm not going to take a chance on the thing flipping on me, and it only needs just a little bit to hold it, enough that I can get the back wheel off and then let it back down. So Safety first. The old days, you just crank it up and hope for the best, and stuff would fall down and you break it all to hell. But I'm older, wiser now. So, we'll come back. It's a balancing act, so get in a position where you're comfortable, and I've just got to jack it up, the whole thing up high enough. See, it wants to go forward there. Once I get up to a certain point, it really wants to go forward, so. We'll let it down. Put that fender in. So we got the wheels off it there, and we're gonna get them off the chuck. I'm gonna take off the discs and stuff and all the sprockets and things like that, get them out of his way. I might set my side cover out too. I'm not sure. Starting to give her some pretty serious thought as we're going along here. It might be time for me to get at this project. I've got a few other things I do have to tidy up, I have to take care of yet, but like I said, you just gotta start one day at a time. Just start working at it, seeing what life brings you. Pretty well hand built everything for it. All the back fender stuff and things, so. She needs some TLC. I've got to start somewhere. You know, I've had this bike 51 years now, 52 years going on now, I guess, in 2026. So, you know, she's shows some sign of wear, different things, but I'm not too concerned about that. I want to get it up. I want to get it running, get it together, one piece at a time. All right, so I'll take those apart, get them ready to go to Chuck, and I'll show you them when they come back. So if you enjoyed this video today, like, subscribe, comment, ring the bell, do those kind of things. It helps us to grow. Hey, Polly, what do you think? All right, okay. So as you've seen, we've gotten through some of the trials and tribulations, and the things never end. But we're trying to work our way through. We're trying to get through things, and we're making it so. And we're getting a little work on my baby Rosie there, so I feel good about that. Things have been on the back burner for a long time with that, and somewhere along the way, I have to start and I have to get at it. So today's the day, or last week was the week, and I sent my wheels out to Chuck, and I'm stoked about getting them back and having them polished, and hopefully that'll give me a reason to move ahead with it. In any case, don't forget to check out my brothers down south, Hippie's Chopper Corner, Slickhead's Custom Cycles. I don't know what next week's going to bring, but I think I'm going to start working on the transmission and putting it back together. I finally got the pieces in today that I need for it. So we're on the upside of working on Josephine, and there's lots of little things in between, and I can't say, you know, exactly where I'm going with it, but I do it one piece at a time as we go along. So stick with us, it's never dull, and we'll get her back on the road again. I'll see you next week.
Josephine.